Sabbath day. They are allowed. They are not guilty. Why? Because of two reasons. One is they are in the temple. Second, they are priest. Since they are in the temple and they are priest, they are allowed to do this on Sabbath day. They are not guilty. Then Jesus adds one more thing. What does it mean? He says, verse 6. He says, I tell you, something greater than the temple is here. What does it mean? Jesus says, in the temple, priests are allowed to thresh the grain and make a powder and winnow it and eat it and make the bread. In the temple, because they are priests. And now Jesus says, I am greater than the temple. My disciples are priests. I am greater than the temple. My disciples are priests. Therefore, they are allowed to take the grain, thresh it, winnow it, and eat it. They are excused. Because as per the law, in the temple, the priests are allowed to do all these. Now Jesus says, I am greater than temple. Therefore, these are priests and they can do these things. They are permitted. And they were shocked. They had no answer. Praise the Lord. It also shows who Jesus is. He's greater than the temple. He's greater than Solomon, greater than Jonah. And who the disciples are? They are priests, the New Testament priest. And they are allowed to do it in the new temple. And verse 7. But if you had known what this means, I desire mercy. See, he's giving 2 points. One is legally they are permitted. And secondly, you have to understand the meaning of Sabbath. I desire mercy and not sacrifice. You would not have condemned the guiltless. They are not guilty. They are allowed. Legally they are permitted. Because I am greater than temple. They are priests and they are doing what is allowed for them. And secondly, after all, they are hungry. Show mercy to them. Let them eat something. So mercy is greater than sacrifice. Praise the Lord. So, my dear brothers and sisters, on this day, let's thank the Lord for this message of the Lord. Let us show mercy than any other thing. There are people who used to say, Father, the other day when we had the youth discussion, seek and find. And one girl asked a question, Father, sometimes when I am praying early morning, I have decided to pray every day. When I pray, my mother always calls me. And sometimes I feel it's a temptation of the evil one to stop this prayer and go and help the mother. What shall I do? Then the answer is this. Even if you are in very serious prayer, if your mother wants your help, your father wants your help, stop your prayer immediately and go and help. That is prayer. Prayer doesn't mean just doing some repetition of the prayer words. Prayer means more than everything else, mercy. Sometimes people have a misunderstanding that they think only when they pray, God is present. What about work, which is God's work? That is also prayer. I remember one seminarian who was in his room, he kept a picture of Jesus and he was praying very seriously with devotion, affection, so much of prayer. And then suddenly there was a bell ringing for the Holy Mass. Prayer, evening prayer in the church. Then suddenly he told Jesus, see you later. And he went to the church for prayer. So he thinks only when he is having an intimacy here in his room, God is present. He doesn't believe in the other presence of God in the church. Many people are limiting Christ in some corners. Some people limit Christ inside the tabernacle. They don't realize after they're leaving the church and when they go home, Jesus follows them. When they go home and shout at their wife and husband, Jesus is watching them in front of them. They think they saw parish priest locking Jesus inside the tabernacle. Therefore, they can do anything what they want outside. That is not the case. So prayer should not according to us we want. We should be flexible in everything, my dear brothers and sisters. Mercy and love should be given more importance than any activities. Some people, I know one person, at midnight he comes from office, and his wife and children, they have come back from the school and office, they are tired and sleeping. And then first thing he asked, did you all have family prayer? Did you all have family prayer? And wife said, no family prayer. Suddenly he got angry with everyone and made the wife and children to get up and at midnight and make them to stand in front of the in the picture of Jesus and said, do the family prayer without which you can't sleep today. And these wife and children with tears, half sleeping, they are reciting the Holy Rosary. Do you think Jesus will be so happy that you are there is a prayer? I deserve mercy, not any sacrifice. My dear brothers and sisters, sometimes many people idolize prayer. Sometimes many people idolize prayer. Prayer is not just only these things. We should have the family prayer, but at the same time with full commitment, full consent of all the family members, and come together. If the others are not willing to come, there is no means in shouting at them and attacking them and threatening them and bring them back to the church in front of the Blessed Sacrament of the prayer and make them prayer. Do you think such prayers will be accepted in front of God? This is something that we all need to correct ourselves. Prayer should be voluntary. It comes from out of love, not out of force. If it comes from force, there is something wrong in the prayer. Sometimes some parents are like dictators, as small Hitlers in the family. And they threaten the children and frighten the wife, and then they make them to pray. Slowly they will hate Jesus. Poor Jesus, he did not do anything. You did mistake, and poor Jesus is suffering because of this. The children should enjoy the prayer. We should make our prayer enjoyable presence of God. How is it possible? Only with the love. Only with the love between each other and love with God. If you really love Jesus, your children will notice your love for God and they will come. They will obey you. Praise the Lord. And my dear brothers and sisters, this is something that we all need to remember. Prayer, the God's presence is there always 24 hours. When you sit in front of the Blessed Sacrament, and even when you walk around, remember, God is in, it's like a husband-wife relationship. Suppose your husband is in UK and wife is in India. And before the marriage, husband used to look at every woman and say, maybe this is my would-be wife. This is how, let me see whether she is good for good lady, her family background and everything. When you see a woman, you may be looking at everyone as a would-be wife. But after marriage, even if your wife is in India or Africa or some other countries and you are in UK, still you will be looking at all the other women as your sisters or mothers. You can't think of any other way. If you are a true husband, you can't look at anyone as a would-be wife because you already have a wife. The same way, once you have a connection with God, even if you are anywhere in the world, maybe you are working, maybe you are in the kitchen, maybe you are cleaning, maybe not be in front of the Blessed Sacrament, but you will behave as if you belong to Jesus. You will move around, you will look at others, look at other human beings as if you already belong to Jesus. That is called real prayer life. For that, you don't need to be in front of the Blessed Sacrament. I'm not telling you that don't be in the Blessed Sacrament. Being in the Blessed Sacrament is the most protected atmosphere and the most protected place. And we all should spend time in front of the presence of God, in our family atmosphere, family prayer, because that is the time the graces will be showered upon you. But in the name of prayer, we should not idolize prayer. We should not threaten others and wound other family members in the name of prayer. Prayer is in a time of enjoyment. Prayer is a time of unity between God and the family. It should not be a time of disunity and grudging and grumbling. Then God will escape from that house. God will run for life, because if not, this head of the family will catch God also and make him kneel down and pray. So this is how many people, many family members behave about prayer life. Therefore, my dear brothers and sisters, God is telling us today, I deserve not sacrifice but mercy. Mercy and love. Let all our family members, all our family prayer, let everything that is connected to God and spiritual